Hi, and welcome to this Biofield tuning, a mini throat chakra tuning to unlock our voices. I'm Ariana Newcomer, Dove Oracle Priestess, Biofield tuning practitioner, voice, and spiritual mentor. And I have started already because we just have a short time, just half an hour for this. I already started our session by tuning everybody's Earth star and Sun star. In Biofield tuning, that's what we do at the beginning of every session. Earth star is a chakra that's below the bottoms of our feet and helps us connect to Earth and get that Earth energy running up the central channel and around. And the Sun star is about a foot above the crown, is also known as our eighth chakra or chakra of our divine self in some teachings. And the Sun star helps us bring in the energy from the sun, the cosmic energies, and they flow down the central channel and back around. So your biofield is this kind of shape, and we have a double flow from Earth and from Sun. So I've already done that because it can take quite a bit of time, but I want to just kind of show you. I have all of your holograms here right in front of me, and I'm going to be tuning you all, anyone who's on this watching live, as well as anyone who ever watches this later. You're all here. You've already been connected to Earth through your Earth star. I used this weighted fork to do that. And you've been connected to the sun, your Sun star, and gotten that energy flow going. And that's our internal battery. It's recharging our internal battery. Earth is our negative pole, Sun is our positive pole. And those two flows are essential for our health and well-being. And what we do in biofield tuning is we help to get everything in the biofield flowing again, so energy available. Another thing that I did, and I'm just going to check in on this again, is I tune the collective anxiety cap. This is what I'm calling it these days. It's this sort of heavy weight of worry and anxiety and anger and fear and in some cases despair, and all that is just kind of weighing us down on our crown. So if you're feeling like you have a big weight on your head, it's the collective cap. So I've used this fork to just harmonize that chaotic energy. The tuning fork is coherent, harmonious sound. And when it comes into a place in the biofield, it's dissonant or chaotic, frozen, or stuck, the tuning fork helps to free it up, bring it back into flow so that we can have that energy to use again. So this coherent, harmonious sound of the tuning fork in the collective cap is sort of harmonizing that collective anxiety. So I'm just letting you know that that's another thing that we have done in this session already. And just kind of see, I like to see it as a cap, a beanie with a propeller top, because I think humor helps. So you can just see it as a beanie with a propeller top sitting on the top of your head. The tuning fork is going to make the propeller go brrr, and the beanie is going to just go lift off and fly off up into the sun. Whee! So we've done some work for ourselves and for the collective. Now I'm going to start the throat chakra tuning, and I'm going to begin on the left side. And in biofield tuning, Eileen Cusick, who is the founder of the method, thousands of tunings, that certain things tended to occur in the same place in the biofield. And so the left side, and she created what we call the biofield anatomy map. And the left side of the throat relates to things that we do not say or express. So holding our voices back. And this is very, very common. And the biofield, it goes to about 5-6 feet out from us in this tube torus shape. And the very outer edge of it is our gestation and birth. It's a double layer membrane. And outside of that, we can often connect in with ancestral energies and sometimes past life issues. And so there's a lot of intensity in the ancestral area here. So for a lot of you, your ancestors on your mother's side, the left side is the feminine side related to mother. Your ancestors on your mother's side didn't feel like they could really speak up and speak out. they held back a lot of things that they would have liked to say. So I'm going to give them a little bit of time here, not too much, because we need to keep moving. And I'm using this weighted fork because this particular one, this frequency, is 144 hertz, and it really tends to move through things quickly. As Eileen says, cuts through like butter, like cutting through butter. So we're moving into the gestation and birth time. Thanks, Jessica. We too. We're moving into the gestation and birth time, and this is really kind of spiky kind of energy here. Oof, and this outer edge of our field is where we relate to the world from. We connect to the rest of the world through the outer edge of our biofield. So when we have issues from our very young years, for instance, being left to cry it out as a baby, being fed on a schedule, not when we were hungry, being taught, as many of us were, children should be seen and not heard. And now that is a voice story. And I have a free gift for you, which is a worksheet that I normally only give to my clients. And we're calling it right now the Uncover Your Voice Stories and Unlock Your Voice worksheet. So the link to that is available here. And it is a wonderful exploration of voice stories, which are stories that we have been told or told ourselves about how it's okay to speak, how it's okay to sound. And children should be seen and not heard is a biggie from a lot of people's childhood. And this would show up here in this left side. And so I'm connecting in with that story here. And if we were to do work individually and you had done the worksheet, we would find where your voice stories show up in your biofield. It's really interesting. And then we can help shift and move that energy that's stuck out there in the biofield so that you can really shift those stories and really be able to speak fully your whole authentic self. All right, so moving in slowly here. All right, in the school years. School years, starting school for a lot of us is, oh man, you have to sit down and be quiet for hours at a time. Girls usually better at that than boys. It's really difficult for boys. But girls, what I'm coming into is the story for girls that we can't be loud. We're not supposed to be loud. We're not supposed to yell and scream. We're supposed to be quiet and nice. We speak softly. And that's like taking a whole bunch of crayons out of your Crayola box, right? If you want to be fully expressed as a human being, you need not to have the classic 8 crayon box. I want you to have the 50 crayon Crayola box. And for that, we have to clear this stuff so that you can actually use it. And a lot of us don't even realize we're not using our voices fully. We're so used to these stories, they become unconscious. All right, so I'm just going to keep moving through here. And what I'm doing as this energy is being tuned, it's being unfrozen, unstuck, smoothed, harmonized by the tuning fork, is I'm then just bringing energy in, and I'm going to be bringing it into the center of the throat chakra, where it goes into the central channel, and then it can go wherever it's needed. You're just bringing in your own energy that got stuck out in your biofield so that you can use it again for whatever you need it for. Okay, boy. Puberty. Puberty, middle school, that horrible time. It's horrible for most of us, right? and things we don't say. We want to be part of the in group. We're not going to say if we see something a popular kid is doing and we don't think it's right, we're not going to say. It's almost like a feeling of choking. So the tuning fork gives me information. As I come across the stuff in the field, the tuning fork is giving me information about what I'm encountering. And sometimes I'll feel it in my body, so I'm having that sensation of choking. It's like, just invite you all to just take some really deep breaths. You'll hear me doing this audible, deep breathing, and it just helps to shift and move the energy. You can wiggle and shift your body as well. I like to coach my clients to use what I call Kali breaths. It's like the lion's breath in yoga, but if you're familiar with Kali Ma from the Hindu traditions, she's always depicted like this, with her tongue way out, and with a sword in her hand and the head of a man she just killed in her hand, and a necklace or belt of skulls. So we want to let out that kind of energy that's stuck out here in the field. So I just strongly suggest everybody do some Kali breaths. If you want to think of it as the same thing, very similar. Just let that stuff that didn't get expressed come up and out. So you've heard me talking about different times in life. So our biofield is like a timeline. I mentioned the outer edge is birth and gestation, and as we move in towards the center, we come into present time. So I'm continuing to move in here. And there's a lot of sadness now. There's a lot of sadness. This is like in our 20s. Sadness for, again, things that I can't say, things that I really want to be able to say that would really upset people, would make me be in trouble or be unpopular, or I really wanted to go to art school and I went to engineering school, or it's like those kinds of things. So just nice deep belly breaths. Diaphragm moves down as we inhale, back up as we exhale. So let the diaphragm go down further into a soft belly. And give yourself permission to allow these feelings that weren't expressed to be felt. And then they will just flow through. What happens when we don't express them in any way is they get stuck out here in the field, like they're stuck right here, right now. And I'm not talking about just splatting emotions all over everybody and not being kind or in integrity. This is our inner work. But when we do this tuning and when we can smooth out the energies here and bring into harmony energies that were chaotic, unfreeze things that were frozen, we become less reactive. Those things that usually trigger us are less triggering over time. And this is another thing that becoming aware of and working with our voice stories does, is enables us to actually use our voices in the way they were meant to be used, rather than continually shutting them down or stopping them. All right, so y'all would like me to stay here for a while in the 20s, but I am gonna keep going because we do have limited time. I'm gonna move on, and of course everyone watching this anytime ever is not going to be the same age. So some of you may be in your 20s now, and so I'm moving out of your timeline. And that's just fine. Enjoy the rest of this. I'll come to the other side. And as we're coming into the 30s, 40s, and we learn over time to self-censor, right? Because of our voice stories, and voice stories arise, a lot of them out of our childhood experiences and our family of origin at school, sometimes in traumatic events. I had one client who auditioned for a solo with her high school choir, and she was really nervous, so it didn't go well. And the director actually laughed at her in front of the entire group. And not only did she never sing again, but it affected her speaking voice as well. Her speaking voice went very small. And then we don't hear ourselves doing that. It's such a habit. It's so normal to us. We just don't hear ourselves doing it. So what I'm getting here in these 30s and 40s times is relationships in which we didn't feel like we could really speak up. Relationships in which we couldn't express our full self, our whole self, and be really received. So as I started to say, as we do this tuning and we work with voice stories, we become more able to be less triggered, less easily triggered. We become more able to speak our truth diplomatically because we're not triggered. So we can actually stop and think and respond instead of react. And so we come into this ability and this way of being able to speak our truth so that it can be heard and received. And so it's not necessarily going to cause a conflict. Okay, and one of the things that I'm running into here is a male voice story, which is very common, which is I'm fine. People, friends, spouses, partners want to know, they can tell you're upset, they can tell there's something going on, but nope, I'm fine. That's a suppression of self. It's an idea, it's a story that we have that to be a man means not to express emotions, not to be sensitive, not to admit to feeling unwell or feeling weak. So let's let that one unfreeze here. Let's get that out of the... Okay, some shaking out of the legs, some nice deep breaths. If you're not a man, do it for the men in your life. All right, I'm just going to take this in just quickly to the center without talking about anything else that comes up, and I'm just going to drop this energy right into the center of the throat chakra. So we've gone through what in Biofield anatomy is our left self-censoring filter, which is kind of right off the left shoulder. So this is reduced, and you can always put these back. So I'm clearing this filter right now. Sometimes you do have to filter, and it is always your choice. You can put this right back. But it can be really interesting to see what comes out if you have cleared this self-censoring filter. But now I'm doing what we call blending. I'm blending the energies that I brought in with the energies already here. And then we do what we call colony, which is going straight up from the chakras if you were lying on your back. And this is to connect these energies with present time. Think of the front edge of the field as present time. And opening this pathway. Okay, good. There we go. All right, now I'm just going to turn you all around and do the right side. So this is the masculine side, the father, related to the father. Not as much intense energy in the ancestral field here. And the right side in the throat chakra on our Biofield tuning map relates to speaking and not being heard. So as opposed to the things we don't say, on the left side, this is, I did say it, but nobody heard me, but nobody paid any attention, but nobody did anything about what I said. So, and this can be a big thing in our babyhood too. Again, that crying and not being picked up, being fed on a schedule, not when we wanted to be, being left to cry it out. Some more Kali breaths here. So we are human beings. This is what we do. We have emotions. It's really appropriate for us to have our emotions. And emotions expressed responsibly get to flow through and they don't get stuck. Emotions unexpressed or emotions pushed down or emotions shamed get stuck out here in the field. And then we just don't have as much energy. We don't have as much inner coherence in our energy field. And we don't have much energy in the flow to use for whatever we need it for. Okay, so again, that's really smoothing this outer edge of the field, which is what we encounter the rest of the world with. So you should find that it's a little bit easier to be around others, and again, that you're just not going to be as triggered as quickly. The Biofield tuning is cumulative. It does work better as we have more tunings over time because there's so much stuff that's out in our field. But it's often, my clients call this the missing piece. They can have done an awful lot of work and I am getting this message. We're having trouble playing this video, but it still looks like it's recording. I'm going to keep going and hope that it does. I was talking about the cumulative nature of Biofield tuning. Coming into greater energetic coherence. And coming into those school years again. Times when we might have said to our parents, I hate school, I really don't want to go, but they didn't listen and they didn't pay any attention. And we wanted to do something. Coming up again now to that middle school time. Now, I happened to grow up in a big family where we talked a lot. Our voices were not suppressed, but there was a lot of not really being heard. So I could say things, but I wasn't. And so that can be, and that's coming up in the context of relationships here. And that was certainly true for me in several of my primary relationships, as you know, I could say this until I'm blue in the face and it's not going to make any difference. That's that kind of energy that's here right now. Whoa. Ugh, that just, and it's such a betrayal of a primary relationship, right? Someone who's supposed to really love you and care for you. But let's acknowledge that we all have our woundings, and not being able to hear others usually is a result of our own woundings. Let's take some breaths for people who didn't hear us, in addition to breaths for ourselves and the things that we really needed to communicate that weren't heard. An interesting piece of this, I worked with a voice client recently. If she raised her voice past a very quiet place, her husband would always tell her that she was screaming, and she wasn't. So I coached her to get a decibel meter on her phone because she had then stopped herself from speaking in anything other than that very quiet tone. And that really hamstrung her self-expression, her ability to be all of herself in her marriage and with her kids and in her life at large and her work life as well. All right, so I'm continuing to move in. And as I said, this would go more slowly if we had more time. I need to stay within my time frame. So I'm just going to now bring this energy. And we have come right through the energy center of speaking and not being heard on the right side. And the self-censoring filter on the left can really relate, as I'm blending these energies here, to thyroid issues, autoimmune issues, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, and vertigo. So Biofield tuning can often really help as we work with the voice stories and we clear the energy field, the biofield. Then often these issues can really be helped. Okay, I'm just calming. Connecting these energies to present time. Right, and so it is. So I'm hoping this continued to record, even though I'm not seeing it recording on my computer. And again, my name is Ariana Newcomer. My website is ariananewcomer.com. And do go grab the Uncover Your Voice Stories and Unlock Your Voice worksheet. And then I would love to hear from you about what you uncovered, what you discovered, and help you to clear those voice stories, both with voice coaching, biofield tuning, and potentially spiritual mentoring. So I really look forward to hearing from you, and enjoy your newly opened throat chakra, and be aware that stuff may start coming out that hadn't been coming out before. So just be aware that it's a process and it's okay, you're learning. So give yourself grace and enjoy. Bye.